Have you ever wanted someone to understand you? But no matter how many times you try to explain yourself to them, it feels like they were only hearing your words without hearing your heart. Have you ever walked away from a conversation from a family member thinking maybe they just don't understand you, or maybe I'm wondering if you're the one who isn't understanding them? Family is one of the most important part of our lives. It can be where we find love, support, laughter, and some of our happiest memories. But sometimes it can also be where we experience misunderstanding, different expectations, different opinions, different way of seeing the world. Today's episode isn't about blaming anyone. It's about trying to understand why this moment happens and how we can respond with honesty, respect, and hope. Hello everyone, welcome back to Behind the Shadows. If you are returning, thank you for coming back. And if this is your first episode, I'm really glad that you are here. This is a place where we have honest conversations about life. The conversations that don't always happen at the dinner table. The thoughts we carry quietly. The questions we don't always know how to ask. Before we begin, I want to remind you that everything I share comes from my own experience and reflection. I'm not a family therapist or a mental health professional. Every family has a Every family is different, and if you're dealing with serious conflict or abuse, it's important to seek support from someone you trust or a qualified professional. This conversation is about something many of us have experienced, which is feeling misunderstood by the people we love. Growing up changes us. As children, many of us see the world through our family eye. But as we get older, we begin to form our own opinions, our own dreams, our own values. Sometimes those changes brings us closer to our family. Sometimes they create distance between us and our family members. Not because love has disappeared, but because understanding hasn't caught up yet. One person says that I'm trying to protect you, while the other person hears that you don't trust me. Then that one person also says that I want to what's best for you, while the other person also hears that you will never accept who I am. These are exactly the same conversations, but they have two different experiences, and that is where many misunderstandings actually begin. Imagine you're a young boy who had a dream. Maybe you wanted to become a filmmaker, a musician, a designer, or even a business owner. They finally gather the courage to share their dreams with their family members. Instead of excitement, they are met with questions such as, are you sure? How will you make money from this? Why can't you choose something safer? In that moment, it can feel like your dreams is being rejected, but sometimes these questions don't come from lack of love. Sometimes they come from fear. Fear that you struggle, fear that you will be disappointed, and fear that it will be harder for you than they actually hoped. That doesn't mean that the competition doesn't hurt, because it's actually hurts a lot, it does. But understanding where fears come from can help us respond with patience instead of assuming the worst. I've been thinking a lot about this. Maybe being understood isn't only about speaking more. Maybe it's about learning to listen. Not because we have to agree with everything, but because of understanding usually begins with when hope, when both people feel heard. As I've gotten older, I realized something. Most families aren't divided because they don't love each other. They're divided because they don't always understand each other. Think about it. Every person in your family have lived a different life, different experience, different disappointment, different dreams, or different fears. Even if you grew up in the same house, you didn't grow up in the same mind. Your parents or guardian may have experienced things you will never fully understand. Maybe they grew up with very little. Maybe they had opportunity taken away from them. Or maybe they made mistakes that they don't want you to repeat. So when they worry, it doesn't always come from control itself, but sometimes it comes from love mixed with fear. But here's the challenge. Love and fear can sound very very similar. Like, I just want you to be safe. I don't want you to struggle. I've seen what happens when people make that choices. These words can come from caring place, but when we are the ones hearing them, it can feel like doubt, like our dreams aren't good enough, like we will never be trusted. That's where communication becomes very very important and crucial. Not just talking, listening, But I mean really, really listening. Because sometimes we are so focused on expecting ourselves that we forget to understand the person sitting across from us. That doesn't mean we should ignore your dreams, not at all. Your dreams matter, your voice matters, your future also matters too. But I've learned that how we communicate these dreams can change the conversations. Instead of trying to win an argument, try to build understanding, try to ask questions, try to be patient, and try to speak honestly. And if emotions become too high for you, it's okay to pause the conversation and come back later. Not every disagreement has to be solved in one day. That is another kind of misunderstanding that doesn't get talked about enough. The pressure to become exactly what other people expect. Maybe your family expects you to be successful by a certain age. Maybe they expect you to follow a career that they end up choosing for you. Maybe they compare you to your siblings. It could be a cousin. I know that comparison can hurt, especially when it comes from people whose opinion actually matters to us. After hearing enough comparison, you might begin asking yourself, why can't I be enough just as I am? If you ever felt that way, I want you to know something. Your value isn't determined by how closely your life matches someone else's expectations. You don't have to become another person to deserve love and respect. At the same time, growing into your own person doesn't mean rejecting everyone who helped raise you. Sometimes maturity looks like holding two truths at the same time. I appreciate what my family has done for me, and I also need room to become my own person. These two things can exist together, they don't cancel each other out. I also want to talk about something that is difficult: forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending something never happened, it doesn't mean saying that hurtful words were okay. Sometimes people say things that leave deep wounds, and healing from those moments can take a whole lot of time. Forgiveness is when, and if you're ready for it, it's often more about freeing yourself from carrying the weight forever than pretending the pain wasn't real. And healing always happen quickly. Sometimes it begins with one honest conversation. Sometimes it begins with settling healthy boundaries. Sometimes it begins with saying, I want us to understand each other. That's not weakness, that is courage. Because it's much easier to stay silent than it is to have difficult conversation with respect and compassion. Maybe today your family understand you, maybe they don't, maybe they are trying, or maybe you are trying. Whatever the situation looks like, I hope you don't lose hope. Relationship can change, people can grow, conversation can become better. Not every story ends up with perfect agreement, but many stories come healthier when people choose empathy over assumptions. And maybe that's where healing actually begins. As we come to the end of today's episode, I want to I want you to imagine something. Imagine you're looking through an old family photo album. You see your birthday, holidays, celebrations, family dinner, smiles, laughter, moments that reminds you how quickly time passes by. Then you remember something else, that not every moment made it into the photo album. It could be the arguments, the tears, the misunderstanding, or the difficult conversations you and your family member had. Every family has stories that never made it onto the picture, and maybe that is why we sometimes, before we are the only family struggling, we are not. And we sometimes believe that we are the only family struggling, but we are not. No family is perfect. Some are close, some are distant, some are loud, some can be quiet, and some find healing quickly. Others take years. Every family story is different. If there is one thing I hope to take away from today's episode is this: being misunderstood doesn't always mean you're unloved. Some people love us deeply, but they just don't know how to express it in the way that we need them to express it. And sometimes we are so focused on wanting to get understood that we forget to understand them too. That doesn't mean accepting hurtful behavior, doesn't mean staying silent when something needs to be said. It simply means choosing wisdom over assumptions, choosing conversations over silence, and when it's safe to do so, choosing empathy whenever possible. I've learned that honest conversation can change a relationship. Not always overnight, not always dramatically, but sometimes enough to help two people see each other differently. And even when a conversation doesn't go the way we hoped, we can still choose the kind of person we want to become. Someone who speaks with honesty, someone who listens with patience, someone who respects others without losing respect for themselves. That's not easy, but I think is worth trying. Before we end today's episode, I'd love to leave you guys with a few questions. Not for anyone else, just for you. When was the last time you truly listened to a family member without planning your response? Is there someone you need to thank? Is there someone you need to forgive? Is there a conversation you've been avoiding because you are too afraid of how it might end up? And finally, what kind of family member do you want to become? Not just today, but years from now. Take these questions with you. You don't always have to answer them at all at once. Sometimes reflection is the first step towards change. I want to give you guys a thought to carry into the week. Family isn't about never disagreeing, it's about continuing to choose respect, love, and understanding. And when life becomes complicated, not every relationship can be repaired the same way, and not every situation is safe or simple. But whenever it's possible and healthy, choose conversation that builds bridges instead of walls. Because understanding doesn't begin when people think the same. It begins when people are willing to hear each other. Thank you for spending time with me. If today's conversation made you stop and think, I hope you carry it with you this week. And if someone came to your mind while you were listening, maybe that is a reminder to check in on them. One conversation, one phone call, one message, sometimes that's where healing actually begins. Thank you for being part of Behind the Shadows. This is just about telling stories, it's about creating a space where we can grow together, one honest conversation at a time. Next week, we are talking about something that almost everyone struggles with at some part of their life, which is the pressure to have life figured out. We'll explore why so many of us feel like we are falling behind, where that pressure comes from, and how we can learn to move forward without letting comparison steal our peace. Until then, be patient with yourself, be patient with the people you love, and remember, growth doesn't always happen through perfect moments. Sometimes it grows quietly through difficult conversations, forgiveness, and the courage to keep showing up. This has been Behind Shadows. Thanks for listening. Until next, keep holding on to the light, even when life feels like it's hidden behind shadows. Bye.